Hey guys, my name is Kern and welcome back to Octane Street, the road here that never ends. And today we are talking about if I regret purchasing my very first vehicle, the 2014 Hyundai Veloster Turbo. But before we get into that, I want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to you guys, because very recently on the channel we hit over 100 subscribers. Now I know it doesn't sound like a lot to some of you, but in reality that's over 100 people clicking a button to subscribe to content that you produce. Those are people that are interested in your channel and what you produce, and to me that means the world. So thank you so much for not only hitting 100 subscribers on the channel, but for also hitting over 150, and we're steadily climbing to 200. So huge shout out to you guys taking that time out of your day to go ahead and subscribe. Now with that out of the way, for those of you that have been following the channel, you guys seen the videos that I talked about the 5 things that I love about my car, as well as the 5 things that I hate about my car. You guys have even seen me do a 2-year review on this vehicle, and if you guys haven't seen any of those videos, I'll link them in the description below, so you guys can go ahead and watch those after this video. But the point I'm trying to make is I've covered a lot of footage on my car and kind of how I feel about the vehicle. Now today I want to tackle a much deeper and more broad subject, which is, do I actually regret buying my 2014 Hyundai Veloster Turbo? So I do have my notes in hand, I do have some thoughts in my head, and I'm gonna try and mix them together and give you guys exactly how I feel about this car. Alright, so for starters, I bought this car a little over 2.5 years ago. It was heavily influenced by my mother. I didn't know the things I do now about cars to make an informed decision all on my own. And you know, your mom's always gonna want you to be safe. She has safety in mind, affordability, you know, cheap on gas, yada yada yada. The things that a mom is typically gonna want you to look for in a vehicle. What I really wanted, I have actually a list of cars that I was looking at the time that I made during that time, and I was kind of writing the pros and cons down of each vehicle. I did my research on each vehicle because that's the kind of person I am. I like to make as best informed decision as possible and do my research on things before I actually make such big purchases. This was my first car, so of course it's one of the biggest purchases of my life. Now with that being said, I kind of told myself that, you know, mama always knows best, she knows what's right, so I kind of went with the decision she was more happy with me getting, which is this Hyundai Veloster, because as I mentioned, it's an inexpensive used car, it's cheap on gas, 4-cylinder, turbo, so it's still sporty, the styling of it is pretty nice as you guys can see, and parts are relatively cheap to replace if anything were to break and such like that. So that's why I bought this vehicle. Now the question that we're trying to answer is, do I regret it? And to be 100% honest with you guys, that answer is unfortunately yes. Now my dream attainable car ever since I was a kid is the 05 to 09 S197 Mustang GT. Okay, I fell in love with this car when I first seen it in 2005 in the game Need for Speed Most Wanted. Maybe some of you guys know it. If you do, you're a G. But that car has been on my mind ever since I was a child, and that's the car that I wanted to buy as my very first vehicle. My mom, you know, advised against this since we live in Canada and it's rear-wheel drive. It's not going to do so well in the snow, especially as a new driver. So that's the reason why I didn't get it. But knowing what I know now, and knowing that as long as you take your time, even with a rear-wheel drive vehicle in the winter, it's very daily drivable. Knowing what I know now, I definitely would have opted to go for my dream car and fulfilled that burning passion inside of me. So because of my decision to go with a Hyundai as opposed to my, you know, dream car Mustang, that means that throughout the whole 2 years of ownership with this vehicle, I haven't really felt like it's mine. I haven't really gotten the chance or felt the need or urge to make it feel like my own, and that kind of really sucks. As a car enthusiast, you guys would know that's kind of the whole reason why we love cars. We want to get one and make it our own, you know, with different modifications and stuff. But this car, I don't really feel like doing that. Of course I see Hyundai Velosters online that I'm really into, but I wouldn't want to do that to my vehicle because I'd want to save that money for the car that I truly love. And unfortunately, this platform, while it's great and it's coming up even more and more with the Veloster N and stuff like that, it's just not my platform. It's not the platform that I'm truly passionate about. So it really sucks in that front. But I'll go ahead and list some of the cars I was thinking of just so you guys get an idea, because you guys might be cross-shopping for similar cars as well, since they're kind of in the same realm. So I was looking at Mazda RX-8s, found out about the rotaries and how they're not too reliable, they're hard to fix, so stayed away from that. The Mazda 3 hatch, I was looking heavily into that before even knowing they were a big part of the car scene, and it's because I kind of like the hatch look of them. The thing that I didn't like was the interior quality for the year models that I was looking at. The interior looked so bland and ugly. It was when they just started to stick the the infotainment screen on, like a little tablet on the top of the dash. Didn't like how that looked, so stayed away from that. Plus they're relatively slow unless you're getting a Mazda Speed. Nissan 370Z, everybody loves these cars, the Z cars, right? 400Zs coming out soon, so those look pretty interesting from the little teasers. But the 370Z is just a little bit too expensive for the year that car is. Again, it's rear wheel drive, so my mom wanted me to stay away from that. That car was just a little bit out of budget, okay? Because I bought this car for $16,000, and I definitely couldn't find a nice example of a 370Z for that same price. Next up, we have an Infiniti G37X, right? I wanted the all-wheel drive. It's nice, luxurious, still sporty, has a turbo in it. So this was a really high contender, but again, the prices were just too high, and most of the ones in my area were severely beaten up, since these cars kind of get driven into the ground for the most part. We also have BMW 328 and 335. I found out with the 335s that later on, I think in 2013, they changed it from a twin turbo to a twin scroll single turbo, and that made it a little bit more reliable, but that these were still horribly rated for reliability, so I stayed away from it. I was dead set on getting a BMW at first because I'm like, all-wheel drive, luxurious, looks cool, get the angel halo lights. I was set on it, and then I joined the Bimmer forums and found out that it's not a great idea if you don't know how to work on your own vehicle and if you're not familiar with German vehicles. So decided to stay away from that last minute, and I'm glad I did to this day. After working in a shop, you really realize that, you know, there's certain cars and manufacturers that really do have consistent problems within and across all of their fleet of vehicles. So good decision to stay away from that. I was looking at Hyundai Genesis Coupes, of course, kind of the car version or brother to the Veloster. So with the Genesis Coupe, it's kind of the same story. Some of the other cars, rear wheel drive, and those were a little bit expensive as well for, you know, the kind of mileage and condition that they would be in. So stayed away from that. Next up, we got the Dodge Challenger, one of my all-time favorite cars. Absolutely love Dodge Challengers. It's just a little bit too big of a vehicle for me. And again, insurance is going to be super high with a car like that, as well as, you know, the gas costs. It's rear wheel drive, so there's just a lot of things that, you know, my mom warned me to stay away from as a new driver and stuff like that. So stayed away from the Dodge Challengers. Obviously got the Ford Mustang on here, that should be number one on the list. Mitsubishi Lancers, but I don't really like what they did. They discontinued the Evo, and then I found out Evos were only in manual, so I couldn't get an Evo even if I wanted to, because at the time I didn't know how to drive standard. Still kind of don't, but you guys see the series, you guys know what it is. We got the Volkswagen Golf GTI, really nice hatchback, actually one of my favorites now the more I look at them, but decided against it because that's a German vehicle, didn't want to have any, you know, problems that Volkswagens tend to have. And then lastly on the list of cars I was looking at is the FRS BRZ or 86, which are very nice little cars, and actually I'm looking at them recently, so you never know, maybe one might end up on the channel here somewhat soon, maybe, I don't know if I could pull some strings, we'll see. So pretty interesting, but yeah, that's kind of the list of cars I was looking at. I'll go ahead and show you guys kind of what I was doing 2.5 years ago, if you guys could get a good picture there. So I had each page with like things that I liked about the car, cons about the car. So it's clear that I was just kind of doing research. I didn't really know much about these cars, and the list goes on. I have it for, you know, the Mustang, the Challenger, for all the cars that I mentioned. So I was kind of trying to do the best research that I could, you know, just so that my money was well spent. And even after all the research, I still regretted my decision. So kind of to recap the whole video, I do regret my decision of buying the Veloster as my first vehicle. I wish I went with my heart and my mind and went with that Mustang, because it's now something that I still haven't fulfilled in my mid-20s. And if I had any parting words or advice for you guys out there, I would say go with the vehicle that's going to make you happy. Don't let someone else choose the vehicle for you. Do your own research and essentially be your own person. Get that car that's going to put a smile on your face, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the most worth your bang for your buck. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as notification bell so that you guys could ride shotgun with me on the next video. I'm Kern, this is Octane Street, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.